Good morning, everyone. So this week is class 9, and we're going to move into run cycles this week. So I have our lesson plan here, and we are going to start, when we meet today at noon, we'll take a look at our biped walk cycles that we're working on. I guess it's over the last 2 weeks now, yeah, as we had the opera last week that kept me pretty much out of the classroom for most of my classes. So we'll take a look at that together. We'll also take a look at this. You can look at this video on your own if you'd like, but we'll watch it together in class. So we're going to just do some research on run cycles. Whenever you start something new, you want to get reference material. We can sit there and say, oh well, okay, I'm just going to make a run because I think I know what a run looks like. That's probably not the best approach. You always want to be working off of reference material. I'm sure you've seen interviews or featurettes, making of featurettes, and you see artists, especially like the sculptors or modelers, 3D modelers, they have whatever they're modeling, they have just loads of reference images hanging around them. So we do not ever want to work from memory. We always want to augment that with reference material. So we'll talk about that here today. I've also given us an image that we can use, much like we had with the walk cycle. I have it right here. This is the timing on a run and the main poses. So we have basically the same thing: contact, down, passing, passing and up. Contact, down, passing, and up. And we basically approach it the same way. This is going to be a fairly short video because I'm only going to do a one demonstration. I'm going to do contact to contact. I'm sorry. Yes, this is it. This is right foot contact and left foot contact. So this is actually only half the run cycle. So this run cycle would actually go 14 frames instead of 7. But I want to just talk about a timing issue that we have here. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate in this video. So you have this for reference plus any other references you can find. And here I have sort of a block down or a breakdown of it. So we block it in. Then we retime, and then we need to adjust our extreme keys to whole frames. Because when we start to retime, sometimes the keyframes fall on fractions of a frame, and it'll work, but it's kind of sloppy. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate here, adjusting your retimed animation to whole frames. So then the other thing here for homework, I would like you to go through this lesson. This is LinkedIn Learning, Character Animation, Locomotion. This is Module 3, which is designing a run cycle. Now, you don't have to use the character from there. At this point, I would like for us to just continue using Advanced Skeleton or Human IK so that we're not constantly learning a new system, even though that's part of the character animation process, being a character animator. Let's just stick with what we're familiar with so we can really just focus on the artistry of this. So again, if you're going to go through this, basically using it as a guide to create a run cycle for a character of your choice. So you can either use one of the advanced skeleton characters or you can use Human IK with a Mixamo character. So that's up to you. So again, we're just using this as a guide instead of actually downloading that particular character and then going through the lesson with that. The character choice is yours. And then we're just going to render out a play blast and submit it here. Now, last week I gave you the video on doing viewport rendering. We can discuss that a little more today when we get together as well if there's some questions. But I would like for all of your animations that you're handing in from now on, to have that process behind it. So we don't want to just have a viewport render with no lights, no shadows, and the reference grid and all that stuff. We want to make it look polished. We can talk a little more about that when we get together at noon today. So that's our assignment for next week. So with that said, I'm going to just jump in here and just talk about this concept of adjusting to whole frames once we retime. So I'm going to put this aside and I'll go in here to, I have Tuna open, the advanced skeleton character. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I want to figure out what my frame rate is. I'm going to set my frame rate to 30 frames per second. That's what we should probably be working at if we're doing games, because we want to stay in those increments, 30, 60, 90, 120, and so on. Now this run sequence is going to be 14 frames right out of the gate. So I'm going to set this to 14. So I have 0. Actually, I'm going to go 1 to 14. I'm basically just following, I'm going to follow this reference that I gave us in the lesson plan. All right, so 1 to 14. So my first pose is the contact pose. So I'll do right foot contact. So I'll bring the right foot forward a little bit here. And now the left leg is going to be back and up like this, and then pointed backwards. And I think I might be pushing this one too far forward. Actually, well, before I readjust this again, I'm going to just come over here to my channel box, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate or roll this back onto the heel, and then figure out where I need to put that foot. Actually, I think what I'm going to have to do is I might have to bring the center of mass down just a little bit. There we go. So I want to make sure that leg is almost extended, but we don't want to hyperextend it. We want to have just a slight bend in it there. Let's see. And now what I want to do is I'm going to work the upper body, but I might have to come back and readjust these feet. I want the body needs to feel like it's angled forward. So I'm gonna adjust the upper body for secondary motion first, and then see where that leaves me position wise. So let's rotate forward here. Oh, this is in IK. I have the spine by default is in IK, so I'll have to pull it forward like this, and then I'll rotate it down a little more. Depends if I want to driving, feel like they're really driving, I might tilt that down more. I might want to keep it more straight. There's a lot of different gates to how a person runs. And so we'll take this arm and I'll bring it down and back. All right. And let's add a little bit of a bend in there. I'm also going to bring the hand into a fist. So I'm going to just curl all of the fingers. And then I'll curl the thumb in just a little bit, like that. All right, and then I'll deal with the left arm. Bring that forward. And usually the arm in the front is bent a little more than the arm in the back. But again, it really just depends on individuals. Everybody has a different running gait. I think running gaits are actually more varied than walking gaits. All right. And then let's just see what we want to do with the head. If we want to keep his head upright a little more. Yeah. He feels a little lazy here in the hip area, so I'm just going to rotate that forward a bit. That feels a little bit better. Now that makes this leg too hyperextended, so I'll take the center of mass and just drop it again, and that's looking pretty good. Make sure you always look at your poses from every angle. Okay, so that's going to be my right foot contact. So I'm going to open up my biped window here. And I'm in, make sure I'm in frame 1. And I'm going to select everything and key it. Then I'm going to come out here to frame 14 and key everything so that I get a perfect loop. Then I can come back to frame 7. And let's see if I can get mirroring to work on this. Again, I really do like to hand pose my opposite leg contact, but for the sake of time, I'm going to try to utilize the mirror button or mirror function here. So let's see, I'm swapping right to left. I guess we just want to swap everything, right? There we go. Okay. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. It really added some great functionality to that mirroring tool. Okay, and now I think I might have auto key on because it already set keys, but I'm going to just make sure that I key everything. And if I play it, we get this happening. Now his center of mass is right in place. So actually what I am going to do one more pose in here. I'm not going to do all the poses, but I'm going to do the down pose, which should be on frame 2. So again, it's very quick. Actually, I might want to do passing pose. Because now this is a case, now when we're doing a walk cycle, the passing pose almost makes itself, but not here. So at frame 4, that's where my passing pose is going to be. I need to make some adjustments. So the right foot should still be on the ground. So I'm gonna adjust that. So the right foot should be on the ground. Now I'm not going to change the forward and back position. I'm just going to change the up and down position here. So this should be on the ground. So I'm going to straighten that out like this. Down on the ground. And we also probably need to be, we want that to start to, again, I'm doing passing pose. Yeah, so he should be on his toe here. So I'm going to take the roll up like this. So we should be like that. And the center of mass should certainly be higher now, up like this. And now I have auto key on, so it's starting to set keys automatically. And then this foot should probably be a little more forward already, like this. Maybe right about there. And I'm going to rotate that foot up slightly. Oh, and actually, right here on frame 3, I want to take the roll. So I am adding some additional keyframes in here. And this should be enough to talk about putting keys back onto whole frames. So right here on frame 3, the roll needs to be flat. We want that foot to be flat. And now my character is a little bit hyperextended. So let's make just a slight adjustment here. Now that might give me a little bit of a pop. Oh no, that'll still work. Okay. Yeah. So that's working pretty well. So you just have to remember that when you're doing a run, you're practically, if we look at our breakdown here, you are practically keying on every frame because the action is so quick. The letting Maya in between it for us just doesn't quite do the trick. So, like in here, even on frame 3 and 6, it's not a specific frame like contact down, pass up, but I had to come to frame 3 and push that roll onto the ground because otherwise it was trying to come up on its toe too quickly. All right. So that's, the basic process here. Now, what I want to do, because again, I want to make this video kind of quick this morning. What we'd want to do is, before we go too far, we kind of want to look to see how fast the run is. And boy, it's I think I need to put these other two poses in, otherwise it just looks really clunky. So let's see. We have let's see, 7. So 7's my contact, and then I'm gonna take frame 3 and I want to go put that in frame 9 right here. So I'll take frame 3. Remember, we can use the middle click to temporarily put a pose in a different location. So I'll take 3. And again, I'm just counting ahead because remember, 1 is right foot contact. This is left foot contact. So it's just 2 frames farther. So 8, 9. So I'm going to middle click here in frame 9. And then I'm going to mirror my pose. Hopefully this will work. And well, and it already set the keys. So see, now that up and down movement makes so much of a difference. You have to get that in there. And then I'll take what's in 4 and I'll middle click on 10 and do the same thing. Then mirror the pose. So basically this is the passing pose for the other foot. So let's just see what that looks like. Okay, so it needs a lot of work, but it's getting there. So you get the, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I've been working in Houdini, so I press spacebar instead of the Alt key. All right, so what I want to look at here is before I start setting too many more keys, we want to establish the timing. Is this too fast or too slow? Because we can easily retime it using the dope sheet, or we could even retime here in the timeline by just selecting everything and stretching it, but I'd suggest using the dope sheet. And when we do that, some of these keys are going to fall on fractions of a frame. And if that happens, you want to adjust them or bump them back to a whole frame, just for cleanliness sake or organization, let's say. So if you have, the more keys on all of these frames you have, the more you're going to have to do that. So you want to try to establish the timing as soon as possible. So I think this is too fast for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retime it. So I'm going to hit the All button to select all of my controls. And then I'm going to come up here to the window menu and go to my animation editors and select the, where is it? The dope sheet. So here is my dope sheet. And I can zoom in on this a little bit. All right. Oops, I zoomed in too far there. I want to make sure I'm at the top. So I should be able to take, yep. There's a lot of keys. We can see that there's a lot of them in here. So right at the top, we have the dope sheet summary. So I can just do a rectangular selection around that. And basically I can just manipulate this row of keys up here, and this is going to affect all of them. So what I want to do here is I want to scale. So I can switch, because right now if I use my middle mouse button, it's just going to move keys around. I want to scale. So I need to use, I forget which one of these. That's move. Insert. Oh, that's select. Oh, okay. So the way I usually do it is I just select my regular scale tool right here. And now I should be able to pull these out. And I was on frame 14, I think, is where I ended it. So let's make it 20, frame 20. Now I'm just going to move that out of the way and see what it looks like. I also need to set my time here to frame 20. Might actually be slightly slow now. Depends on how big of actions I want to have on this character. The bigger the actions, you might have to add a few more keyframes. But let's say we like that. So I say, okay, that's good. That's going to be my timing. Now what I need to do is I need to take a look at these keys. So there's one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these two navigators. These navigate to the next keyframe. We can't just click here because this goes to whole frames only. Now we know that the keyframes in frame 1 are on the whole frame because I didn't change that. I scaled from 1 outward. Now if I use the little button here to go to the next key, it tells me that it's on frame 3.94. That's not what we want. So I want to move that. So I could do it here. Well, it might even be easier for me to do it just to go back to the dope sheet to do this. So let me go to the dope sheet, and I can just go to the dope sheet summary up here, and I can just go, this is probably easier, just go through the keyframes here. See, it says 3.94. I'm just going to round it to the closest whole number, which would be 4. So I bump it to 4. Then I go to the next one. That's at 5.4. I'm going to move now. I'm going to do some judgment calls here. I'm going to move that one to 6. That one's at 9.82. I'll move those to 10. These are 12.76. I'll move those to 13. And these are 4. Let's try moving those to 15. I might need to drop them back instead of forward, but we'll see. And this is at 20.11. I'll make that 20. And let's see if how much that affected the timing. It doesn't look any different. But all my keys are now on whole frames. So retiming your animations is critical. We know that. That was like one of the first principles of animation we learned. Timing is critical. And timing is related to spacing. You know, how far does an object move in what time frame? So that's timing and spacing. And it becomes really critical on a run cycle because a run cycle has very big movements compared to a walk cycle. So if you're doing a really over-exaggerated run, that means you have a lot of spacing, so you have to be careful with your timing. And you want to get that right before you go to the polishing phase of your animation. So we use the dope sheet to scale them to get that timing just right, and then we need to come back in and just clean up those keys, get them on whole frames. And again, the best way to do that is with the dope sheet here, right up here at the top level for the dope sheet summary. All right, so I think that is everything that I wanted to cover today. I mean, that's a pretty brief lesson. However, what I'm presenting here is just absolutely critical. Timing is so important. So I think I'll stop there, and then we can pick up with looking at our biped walk cycles and some of these other face-to-face concepts when we meet today at 12. So I'll see everybody then.